What's up, J Fusion fans? This is Philip, and welcome back to another video. Now, in today's topic, we're going to talk about how paying for anime and manga isn't actually going to save the industry. So, for context, especially if you've forgotten, last year the Japanese government uh, has been tightening its, you know, policies against piracy and has been implementing it in the form of taking down a lot of websites that share manga for free and also free anime streaming sites, again, to combat this issue of piracy. So basically, by doing this, the Japanese government and most especially the companies that own the intellectual properties for all of the manga that you read and the anime that you watch, well, they basically want you to buy from them, and that's very much understandable. So, you know, there is an issue with that first. Let's take a look at this one. Let's focus on this point first. So the thing is, a lot of titles are not really available, especially to international fans. So you will actually have to depend on someone who is in Japan, for example. So anyone who has access, especially to physical copies of either uh, magazines or actual copies, like volumes of any manga in general, for example, or anyone who can actually download anime and then share it onto the internet. So, yeah, it's basically your choice, right? If you want to access like again, if you want access to anime or manga, then that's what you do. And only those who feel that they have the capacity to actually pay for these kinds of services, then you can actually, let's say, for example, you go to Netflix and pay for your monthly subscription. And I think even legitimate manga apps, like I do think like Shonen Jump has its actual app. And here in Japan, for example, you do have a lot of manga related apps that you can basically read manga, but you have to pay for a subscription. Or there are manga that or there are manga reading apps that offer them for free, but you need to pay premium to access more content sometimes. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to pay for something eventually, you know. But in that case, not everyone would probably have, again, access to these apps, or basically you don't have the funds to do so. Let's face it, not everybody can do that. Even though they're relatively cheap, so to say, you will definitely have some other priorities to save up for, instead of just spending a few uh, bucks on, reading manga, watching anime, or such. And that's really understandable. And for those who want to access them for free, there's no other way than to just pirate it off the internet. And of course, the Japanese government, and especially the companies that own the titles, the intellectual property, they don't want that. They want your money. I know it sounds like a greedy move, but what else can we do? So, you might think that, let's say that you quit, watching or reading for free, and you actually decide to pay for it. You might think that you'd be helping the manga and anime industry, but not necessarily. And I don't think that's going to be the case. So, the prevailing issue until now is that, let's say, even if you do spend a lot, so let's think about this. Ever since, manga and anime hit the Western shores, the popularity of those things just skyrocketed even more, I believe. So you might think that increased consumption of anime, manga, or the purchase of like related goods, for example, you think you would help the actual industry, but apparently that's not the case. And even if an anime or a manga is popular not only in Japan but also internationally, let's say a more recent title like Demon Slayer, so no, we could imagine a lot of money coming in. But again, there is a problem. So let's say that you are the creator of a certain series. Now, of course, if your uh, if your characters become successful, then you're good to go. However, that doesn't mean that everyone else working under you would be lucky. Sure, like everyone involved, like for example, like voice actors, especially the more popular ones, when they get, you know, you would assume they would get paid a lot, and maybe they do, but there are a lot. I hear and I read about this as well. You can Google it yourself. I just think there are too many sources out there already, and you can find them on your own. By the way, so I've read articles, I've seen videos that, talk about like less popular voice actors, for example, like names that you probably haven't even heard of, especially like new ones. I think they don't get paid as much as anyone who's already made names for themselves. And that also goes for the other people working behind the scenes, uh, like animators and you know like other artists that are working on your manga, for example. So from what my observation tells me, if you are the creator, if you are the owner of the title, sure, your name is in there, but in order to actually mass produce your creation, you need to hire, or you are probably given, or your work would probably be given to other artists so they can draw for you. You don't have to do everything yourself, and that is a typical practice, I believe. You know, so the thing is, even if you're the, uh, so if you are a creator, you get all the money, but if you are just one of those artists in general, just working on the manga, especially for the mass production, well, it turns out that, they don't get a lot. So for a bit of context, I believe this is not an exact amount, but for an average salary in Japan every year, one would usually get about 2 million yen. And if correct me if my conversion is wrong, but this should be about $200,000 a year. That, again, that is the average salary, or maybe even wage, depending on the kind of profession, but usually more or less within that range, okay? So let's assume that the average annual salary in Japan is about 2 million yen, or $200,000 per year. So I have seen a video on Facebook, I believe, about a couple of years ago already, and it was an interview with an animator. His name and his identity was kept secret. So he reveals that his annual salary is significantly less than the average. So, if my memory serves me correct, it was about a million, just barely over half of the annual average salary. So, again, you get significantly less. And what's worse about that is the amount of work that you do. So let's say, even let's say given this pandemic happening, you would probably be working at home, drawing your manga. And I think a lot of artists work from home anyway. So they spend more than 12 hours and probably even longer just to, just to draw. And you know let's compare to the average working class, like a company worker. The average working time would be 8 hours, and let's say you can go into overtime, maybe 2 to 3 hours, but that's the norm, I believe. But I've heard from this interview, again, not really exact, but they go for more than 12, you know so I've also read that, like recently in Japan, I think you can actually go to college and study how to become an animator, like an artist. Yes, it does exist now. So, in order to go to that college, what do you need? Money. And definitely, it's not a joke. Going to college or going to university to study basically any course, it requires a lot of money. Depending on how long it takes, maybe I'm not sure if it takes maybe 2 to 4 years, but nonetheless, you would still spend a lot of money during that time, and it's definitely not going to be cheap. So let's say even if you graduate with a lot of honors, like you attain the best skills in order to work for either animation or in the manga industry. Well, if you don't have an original idea that's going to be, like, for example, the next Shonen Jump hit, you're going to end up probably as, just an artist on the side. And, well, that's going to be tough, I think. So this is the main problem that uh, I'm basically trying to address in this video. So even if, let's say, you do pay for manga or anime, you buy uh, actual physical copies of the manga, or you have a monthly subscription to any streaming site that, of course, legitimately shows anime. At the end of the day, the money that you pay for only goes to either the companies that own these titles, or the artists themselves, or the original creators. So they get their royalties. But you probably would be thinking that, if the creators get a lot of money, why don't they just contribute and pay more to the artists? Well, that's definitely ideal, but I don't think that's the case. So the artists are probably employed by the publishing company and not the actual artists themselves, unless they personally hire their staff. And I do believe it's possible. I'm not sure if there are any artists that actually hire their own staff. So if you do know, like, especially the more popular artists, manga creators, let's say, for example, Eiichi Oda, uh, you know, Akira Toriyama, anyone, any manga or anime creator that actually hires their own staff, If you know anyone, you can actually tell me in the comments so I would know about them, of course. But for the most part, I do think that all the people that work under all almost everyone would be working under the publishing company, not the actual creator. Again, this may be wrong, but it is uh, pretty much what I think is most likely happening in reality. So yeah, imagine, even if anime has been popular, manga and anime have been very popular, especially in the West for quite a long time, and even in Japan, anime is still very much uh, part of their culture. If we don't, if Japan or the publishing companies is most especially if they don't care about their artists, if they don't change the work conditions, there will eventually come a day that you know anime and manga won't be a thing anymore. Not because it's not popular. Again, they're popular now more than ever. The time will come that they'll be gone because there's no one making it anymore. You know, because of the conditions. Like very long working hours for less than for a pay that is less than the standard average or the standard wage or salary. That's definitely not looking good if you are planning to work in the anime or manga industry. And of course, this channel being a foreign, I do think that there are still like a lot of foreigners wanting to work in Japan, you know, to help create anime, manga, or probably they would have their own idea for a new character. But again, I mentioned this a bit earlier. If you don't have an idea, if you don't have a character that's going to be a massive hit, it's going to be very hard to succeed. So yeah, but of course, uh, I would still say definitely that piracy is not good. Uh, well, on the other hand, I also understand that most people don't have the means to actually uh, pay for subscriptions. Well, of course, I do think that there are legitimate and free websites out there. I think you can find free anime on YouTube that's actually legit. So you can at least do that if you don't want to pay for anything. Well, in a way, you don't you would feel less guilty, about doing so. But at least it's a bit more sustainable. So yeah, I do hope you like this video. Again, if for any information that I missed, I would gladly take it in the comments. So please tell me everything that I missed. If you have your own opinions, please share them as well. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Please do leave a like, comment, share this video so that this issue doesn't die off. So please do that. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get the latest from JE Fusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!